All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast. The Avalanche extend their winning streak to 6 games with a 3-0 shutout win over the Vegas Golden Knights. And did you have any doubts? It was my birthday, Kyle. I mean, come on. You knew they were going to win this thing. New episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
Your Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making this your first listen of the day. I am Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Make sure to follow us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com, and follow us on our YouTube channel. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. So a little bit later, we'll get to obviously our sound check. We have to drop those beats for everybody. And Chris MacFarland had some comments. He was out there. He did a press conference. He was on altitude during the second intermission, kind of talking about where the Avalanche stand in the whole trade dynamic. So we'll get to that later, but we are going to start. They played a game, and they played another one as perfectly and beautifully as the Avalanche could possibly play it. This was a 3-0 shutout, and 14 seconds in, technically the game was over. This team is you just keep using the same phrasing. This team is rolling right now.
Absolutely rolling, and to jump on that opportunity, like you mentioned, 14 seconds in, like that's being on top of the play. And it really took the sting out of what Vegas was planning on bringing into Ball Arena. And Vegas just felt out of sorts all night because the Avalanche would not stop. They were relentless. They were getting production from everybody. They tallied a goal in each frame. You can't ask for much more. You can nitpick about the power play and the faceoffs, but as long as you're putting pucks in the back of the net, it cures everything.
I'm not going to nitpick on the power play because that power play, it was a 4-on-3 power play, and it was just, they were shooting darts.
Yeah.
It just, nothing could get in, but you saw how how can I phrase this? A unsuccessfully successful power play. And by that, I mean, you were like, it was a 4-on-3. You're going to get a lot of opportunities. Vegas shut them all down, but that carried over into the 5-on-5 where you had that pass from JT Compher over to Mikko Rantanen to get his second. So you can see what a good power play, even though it doesn't score, it just builds your momentum. And when you have a 4-on-3, you should be just shooting BBs at the net.
I felt bad for McNabb for Vegas. He was getting peppered.
Pummeled. Yeah.
And it was rough to watch. But yeah, and that pass from JT Compher, it's one of those moments that we talk about all the time with this team playing in unison and knowing where everybody is, and you don't see the lines shuffling. Everybody's kind of in their established roles now, and you start seeing passes like this, and you start seeing it when they selly, like how they react. Like this is exactly what you knew where you had to be. Like this team is a machine right now.
What I really like about how the Avalanche are playing is Vegas is a very good defensive team, right? And they were showing you that. And early on, the Avs it's basically a fluke goal, right? I mean, it's skilled by Mikko Rantanen to knock that puck out of midair when a goalie is just trying to clear it. I mean, that does not happen all the time. And he just knocked it down. The puck is still bouncing. He just timed it perfectly to get that puck in the net, right? So the rest of that period, you saw what Vegas can do defensively. They were really, I want to say shutting down. They were not shutting down the Avalanche, but they're good at really just collapsing on you and making it like a struggle to find shots. But once the Avalanche did, Mikko Rantanen got that goal 14 seconds in, and then halfway through the first, the Avs are down in shots. It was like 10-2. But by the end of the period, I think the Avalanche were up 11-10. So while we're sitting here talking about how Vegas was really good on defense, and they were, number one, the Avs were finding ways to get shots on on net because they finished with 34. And after that, I mean, Vegas finished with 31 shots on goal, but a lot of those came really towards the end of the game. I think halfway through the third, they were at 21.
Yep.
So for 2 periods, technically, the Avalanche held them to essentially 10 shots on goal. So sure, Vegas tightened up on D. So did Colorado. I think this is one of the better defensive games Colorado has played from their defensive unit and obviously Georgiev.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up. I think the performance that Georgiev had, phenomenal.
Mhm.
This is especially with the opponent and how it developed late for him to stand on his head and feed off that confidence that the defense was building, especially like when Vegas tries to attack, they push everybody to the boards. By the time you get the puck, you have one guy sending you in the boards, making it uncomfortable. You're kicking the puck. You really can't. They don't allow you to break out a lot. And
Right.
for the defense and the forwards too, to adapt to that, like they went in with the game plan. They saw how Vegas was going to play them, and they adapted mid-game. This speaks volumes to the opponents that the Avalanche will be facing later on in the week and what they have going on, because we were talking about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks being out of the playoffs. If we could just get in the playoffs, we're knocking on the door of first place.
Yeah, it's no joke. And you know, everybody's, I don't want to say forgetting about the Avalanche, not forgetting about them, but like it just happened like that.
Yep.
Like just over the course of like a short period of times, it just seemed like the Avalanche just ascended to where they are. And it's all like they are just on the same page with everything that they're doing right now. On these transitions, when they're going from defense to offense, it's just like they can just close their eyes and throw a pass where their teammate should be, and he's there. Like it's just they could play this game blindfolded right now. It just seems like, and just because everybody's doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing, even on the breakaways. Like not that they're like say like just a 3-on-2 breakaway or something like that. I mean, it just seemed like early in the season, over and over and over again, you just had the one guy going right down the middle and trying to break the split the defense. Never works. And now they're just doing that like drop back pass while the guy who dropped the puck still just skates forward, not interference, and you can get a shot on net. They were the one thing that like Vegas did well, because Aiden Hill was giving up a lot of rebounds.
Yeah.
And it was partly like, he was doing that and the Avalanche just weren't in position because Vegas kind of doesn't let them get in position. That's playing with fire, especially against a team like the Avalanche. They didn't get any of those juicy rebounds. I mean, oh my God, there were some, if you were just anybody was there, but Vegas, they made it difficult for the Avs.
Yeah. It was like that. You talked about not allowing them to get their shots. That second goal that Mikko had, that pass from JT Compher, they had Mikko so exhausted. Like the energy that he put into that shot, it was not there because he was being chased around and pushed around, and Mikko was exhausted. He probably gave about 20% in that shot, and it went in. But that's what Vegas does to you. They try and wear you out. And with this speed that Colorado has, and now the confidence, like the passes, the drop back passes, you see a lot of, instead of pushing and kind of over committing, you see they know where everybody is. You could just see them not even look and just drop it, assume a position. And this is what you've been wanting to see for a while. You don't see the frustration's not there anymore because this team is finally clicking.
And the second goal by Mikko Rantanen, his 40th of the season. So obviously a career high for him. He's not going to win the Hart because, Connor McDavid is doing Connor McDavid things, but I think he just continues to be in the conversation for it. At least he'll get some votes. I don't know where he'll finish, but he'll get some votes for it, and it's well deserved. He's been a rock all season long.
I'm regretting my stance on his 100-point season.
It's good. It's within reach.
Yeah,
it's within reach for both of them. So, and Nathan MacKinnon did get one himself. with the empty netter. So more to get to on this game, and of course our sound check a little bit later. First, we are going to hear from Built Bar. And if you're looking for a delicious treat, but you don't want all the fat and the calories, then you have got to try Built Bar. We are right in almost into March, so one day away from March. And that means nice weather is around the corner. And if you want to drop some pounds and get into that swimsuit, I know Kyle does.
Oh, you know me.
I mean,
Speedo, Team Speedo over
Team
here.
Speedo and SPF 50 for that Irish skin. You got to try some Built Bars. What makes Built Bars so good? Well, first of all, they are covered in 100% chocolate, 100% real chocolates, I should say. And they come in unbelievably delicious flavors like churro, peanut butter, brownie, and coconut almond. And they just dropped for a limited time until supplies run out the cookie dough puff, which was one of your favorites, right?
It was. I loved that so much.
I remember you talking about that one. So that's just so that's limited time, folks. So get on there now and order those. You can get at built.com. I don't believe you'll be able to find those in Walmart or Sam's Club, but you can go into a Walmart and Sam's Club and find these Built Bars right at your fingertips. You can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, and the coconut puff. And if you're at Sam's Club, you can run in and grab the 13-bar box of the hit flavors brownie, batter, and churro. Make sure you get in on the Built Bar craze, and you can thank us later. All right. More to get to with this game. Kind of some individual play. I thought we sing his praises a lot, and that's Bo Byram.
Yeah.
We were talking about his contract, and I'm not going to go down that road again, but we were kind of saying how like his injuries and stuff like that might play into the Avalanche's hands when they're going to negotiate a contract. I think with the minimum amount he's played this year, I think that just goes away. Like you see what he is capable of doing, and it's multiple avenues he can go down. If he needs a full head of steam and to engage as a defender, he can go do that. And you saw a couple times him do the opposite, where it's right there. Like there's going to be a line change and he can see like, yeah, even though it's a line change, I maybe can go, maybe get a head start here. But he kind of plays that tape to the end, and he's just like, it's not really not going to end well. Let me hold up and let's do the smart thing here, Bo. Let's not get my 21-year-old self into trouble right now. And he backs up and he waits for his team to come, and let's all go forward together.
He does so much. He's physical.
Yeah.
He can turn it on offensively when he needs to. He's very smart defensively, and he'll throw the gloves down if he has to, which I hate it every time he does, but
yeah.
And it's so frustrating every time he goes down, because it's always after he strings a couple of these games together where you see his full potential and you're like, my goodness, whatever we're paying Kale, give it to Bo as well. Like he's got that type of potential.
He does.
And then when he goes out, you have to learn to live without him for a little while, but then he comes back and reminds you. But Bo has been incredible in games against Vegas. I mean, especially in the absence of Cale Makar, he is unsung hero and extremely needed for this run.
Oh my God, yeah. He's been fun to watch. He's so just in control of himself in the situation. He doesn't let the game like overcome him. Like the game just comes to him just so easily and naturally. And to do that at the age he's at now, like we were saying that about Cale Makar, it's just like the best is yet to come, even for Cale Makar. And man, you're seeing like that on the ground floor with Bo Byram. And man, like they're going to be, you got Cale wrapped up for a while, and you are going to have Byram because he's a restricted free agent for wrapped up. Hopefully, unless they bridge him, that's a whole we had that conversation. But if you're the Avs, the conversation of let's lock this guy up for a long period of time, as long as we can.
Yeah.
Right now, and that's only going to benefit us because it's fun to watch him play, man. It's a lot of fun.
It really is.
So you had here, let's get to some stats here. The shots on goal 34-31. You had Jack Johnson was back in the mix. So he actually played just shy of 20 minutes. I think some of that was, you had the lead early, and when you got that 2-0 lead, maybe they're just rolling lines normally. Like, you weren't playing from behind. If that's going to be the case, he's probably not going to be out there as much. I didn't. He was Jack Johnson.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, you know exactly what you're gonna get from him. He had here's Jack Johnson, right? He had, I don't know who it was, but he laid out someone on Vegas, like a really solid hit, and actually collected the puck, and was exiting the zone, didn't fully exit the zone, but immediately turned the puck over.
Yep.
So
I know.
like,
I knew that moment. I said out loud, "Jack's back, baby."
Yeah, like, it was a great hit, and the crowd went, because it was kind of early. I think it was in the first period, and the crowd goes crazy. And yeah, then there's that. That's what you're just gonna get with him. He's not, this amazingly puck moving defenseman. That's him.
Yep.
There's no other way to describe Jack Johnson than that. That's what you're gonna get out of him.
He never does anything incredible offensively. Like, he'll never light you up with goals, and he'll never mess up to the point where it allows goals. But it's just enough where you notice both ways, and you're like, "Oh, that's Jack."
Yeah. We mentioned JT Compher with that pass, and we'll get into it in the next segment with Chris MacFarland, because he did talk about the 2C. He didn't fully mention it, but we knew what he was alluding to. They might be comfortable with just letting him roll with it, because he's been playing great this whole season, and you saw it today. Aside from that pass to Mikko, which was great, he's just been solid, kind of like you wanted him to be for so long. He's finally kind of just taking that that role that he should have had probably a couple years ago, and just never matured into it. It seems like he is now, and he's just right place, right time. He's not just overskating pucks. Like, he's I think he's just slowing the game down. When you play on a fast team, maybe sometimes you're feeling like, I got to speed my game up too. And he's got some speed. He's not, a speed demon by any stretch of the imagination, but I just feel like maybe he just said, let me mix my style of game with how this team plays as a whole. And that seems to be working for some reason for him this year. He was great last night.
It's almost like when Burakovsky figured it out. The way he slowed down the game, it has that same kind of trajectory, and I love it. And I love seeing JT settle in that position. And the longer the Avalanche keep this winning streak going, and as dominant as they're looking, I don't fault the front office for saying, what do we need to do? Like, they're okay.
Yeah.
Like, why trade for something else that's unproven? We know what we're getting right here, and what JT's bringing to the table, it's pretty good.
Yeah. And I mean, you play like this, you've been going up against some pretty good teams, and you just are in control of all of these games lately. And the only blemish that they had was that Dennis Mulligan penalty, which was a trip, which was like halfway through the third, which is not what you want at that time. You're only up 2-0 there, and you give Vegas a power play. They get on the board there, and the end of this game is very different.
Yep.
So, but it was a trip. I don't really think it was an intentional trip, but a trip is a trip. I get it. And you killed the penalty.
Yep.
So you killed it. So just everything, you have to love how this team is playing right now. And, it wasn't that long ago where the whole panic button comments were coming into play. And it's like, we still have a long way to go, but you weren't at a level of like, well, I can see this team kind of heading in the right direction. They were just playing horrible. It was night and day between the beginning of the year and this last stretch of February. It's been fun to watch, and it's almost like it's back. Like, Avalanche hockey is back, and kind of, it's weird because I feel like nobody's really, everybody's just still enamored with what the East is doing, and I get that. You should be, but don't forget about these guys.
then that means the Avalanche are fully back, not getting the respect of the media
Yeah,
or anybody. The Avalanche are fully back to go from panic button to shutting out the best team in the West.
yeah, and with an attitude. Miko mixed it up. I don't know what got into him that one time because they showed a replay, but it was they didn't. I don't think they went back far enough on the replay.
It was after the whistle,
Oh
slapped his
yeah.
stick down, and Miko just turned into the Incredible Hulk.
So like you've seen, like you get that fire in these guys, and like you're not having that drop in play for periods of time during a game. It's from
Yep.
the opening puck drop to the end. They're engaged.
14 seconds in.
14. Yeah. All right. So let's hear from Athletic Greens, and then we'll get to some Chris MacFarland comments that he made. And like I said, obviously our sound check. But first, we got Athletic Greens. When we've been talking about Athletic Greens for quite some time now, we got to check in with you, sir. How's your no energy drink thing going? Thanks to
still off of it. This is like 15 years of energy drinks every single day, and I've stopped, and I'm like going on week 3. Athletic Greens it's been my replacement in the mornings when it used to be an energy drink.
That's great, man. So you feel like you had that like 2 week, like, can I do this? And now it's getting a little bit better.
Yeah, I've gotten past the morning part. The evenings are still a little tricky, but I love like starting it off with like Athletic Greens in the morning. I think that's what's doing it for me.
Yeah, you kind of like what exactly Athletic Greens does for you if you're concerned about like some gut health issues or your immune system or your energy, which those energy drinks, they're energy for the short term and not really the long term. So that's exactly what you can get with Athletic Greens. Just 1 scoop of AG1 in a glass of water, and you're absorbing 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, and probiotics to help your day start off right. It's lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free, and it contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, so no nasty chemical or artificial taste, because it tastes amazing and it costs you less than $3 a day. So you're investing in your health. It's cheaper than your cold brew coffee or energy drink habit. How much were you spending a day, would you say?
It's bad.
Do you want to divulge that information? Probably not.
I mean, those drinks are like almost $3 a pop, and that's 2 a day.
Okay, sometimes more.
Yeah.
So your kids are not at college level yet, but you could have sent them to college.
I'm in college.
Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with a convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day, and that's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Once again, it's athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. All right, so Chris MacFarland did a press conference before the game and actually went on altitude during the second intermission and kind of did a quick interview with Mark Mosier. And kind of like the same things were said at both of those things, but they talked obviously about the trade deadline. We got a couple days left in that, in the trade season. Talked about the moves that they did make, and could we still see some things? And it was like typical Avalanche fashion right now. It's like he asked them specifically about the most recent deals that we've been seeing in the NHL have been beefy trades, right? Like the Timo Meier one was a big. The Tanner Jeannot deal was a big deal. You're seeing the one that the Maple Leafs did with the Blackhawks, like even that trade for McCabe. Like there's a lot of parts moving around, a lot of players moving, a lot of picks moving around, and the Avalanche are doing like these 1-for-1 or 2-for-2 deals, right? They're not getting involved in these. We're going to throw millions of picks across the country and players across the country. They're very simplistic in their approach. And that's what MacFarland said. He was like, are we going to just, because other teams are doing that, does that make us feel like, man, we better jump in the mix? And he was like, no, we have our plan.
Yeah.
And if something comes across our table and maybe that didn't necessarily, like, we didn't think of it, we will do our due diligence and look into it. So I in a way, like, I'm comfortable with that. I don't want a team that just throws their hat in the ring because other teams are doing the same thing.
And you also have to look at it this way. All that talent is leaving the West. It's going east. You don't have to worry about that for a while until this team can keep building, working its way up the Central, work its way up the West, and then have a really nice run through the playoffs, and then worry about the East when they get to the Stanley Cup. But all that talent's going east. So you don't want to fall into the trap of keeping up with the Joneses. The Avalanche, especially, we just talked about how good this team's doing. Really, do you need to make a move right now?
They don't feel like they have to. They're comfortable with, like we mentioned, the JT Compher thing. And this is like, if they feel like they can make the team better and they feel like it's someone that fits in with the culture of the team, they will look into it. If it doesn't meet those criteria, they're not touching it. And they'll be happy with who they have. They feel like they can maneuver around between JT Compher, between Mikko Rantanen, Alex Newhook, even Evan Rodriguez, if you had to. They feel like they have the pieces there to get through, to get by, and to make another deep run. And they're not just going to throw prospects and picks out the door for kind of a big question mark. It's always a question mark when you acquire a player. It always is. You just don't know if it's going to work. You hope it does, obviously. And he mentioned last year, he's like, they threw their hat in the ring last year and made those deals. You can't do that year after year. You just can't. You don't have the capital. And you can tell the Avalanche really prize their first round pick. It's not completely off the table from what I gauge, but you are gonna have to give the Avalanche something of tremendous value for them to give up their first round pick. Doesn't sound like they're gonna do it.
Yeah, it's easy to trade away and try and improve for now, but with that first round pick, you also have to plan for the future. And if you're sending out pieces left and right, your prospects, you've got to rebuild that somewhere. And that first round pick could be one of those that really cultivate and get the minors going, like the AHL crop of talent.
Yeah.
So,
and then he did mention Gabe Landeskog, and the kind of the time frame the latest time frame we've been given, obviously, is mid-March. That's all we have is the Ides of March, not a specific date. But he would not even commit to that right now. And is Gabe Landeskog missing the entire season on the table? It kind of is. And I would say even that includes the playoffs. So, but he did say, like, he is on track with our latest projection. Like, he's skating as we anticipated him skating. And if that can continue to progress the way that it should, there is a chance he comes back mid-March. That's not that far away. So, I mean, things need to ramp up here a little bit, if you ask me, for him to come back at some point this season. If he doesn't, he doesn't. But the way that MacFarland phrased it didn't send you away floating like, oh, he's right. He's so close to returning.
Yeah, it's with the way the team's playing right now, I would love to have Landy back, but take care of yourself first, because the last thing I want is you come out here and then tweak it, and then next year's up in the air. Right. So take your time.
So we'll see what happens with that, and we'll see what happens with the trades. He did say he is active. He is active, but the Avalanche just don't jump at deals that they feel like is not going to make them better. All right, so last piece of business we have to get to is obviously our sound check, and Kyle and I pick one song that we feel best summarizes the most recent game. Put these songs up on a set list or playlist over on Spotify. You can follow it. Just go search LOA Soundcheck. This is volume number 2. What do you got for this one, sir?
A song from the group AWOL Nation. Acts of Shame.
Love it.
15 minutes of just a vibe.
It's an epic.
It is. And you know what? This playlist deserves an epic, and we're going to get it. Because you know what?
Yeah.
This game was epic.
Like, so, I was just saying, like, what's the reasoning behind this song? Like, what, for that one
it's one of those, like, we talked about the first 2, even the 3 segments, like how everything is clicking for this team. And this song, it's got so many parts that just blend together so well and make this beautiful, long epic.
Like it.
That's how this Avalanche team feels right now. It's why we all have this renewed confidence in this team. The same feeling you can get in the song.
I like that. That's a very good analogy. I did put a Nightwish song up there earlier this season, which is a half-hour song.
That's right.
Between these 2 songs, that's a 45-minute playlist just there. But I love that analogy is why you picked it. For me, I'm going with one of my high school bands, good old Goldfinger. And they're still kicking around. Goldfinger is still doing it. And they had a song called Open Your Eyes. And that's what I'm going with, because it's, like I said a little bit earlier, I think the rest of the league needs to open their eyes and just be like, hey, Boston's doing their thing. Tampa's doing their thing. Toronto's doing their thing. All trades and everything. Everybody's looking over here. Look what the Avalanche is actually doing right now, too.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I like how you said earlier, like, we're back to being the Avalanche, not getting like notoriety. I'm not saying that. People know the Avalanche. They won the Stanley Cup. But because of all the injuries and how they were a little bit sluggish for most of the season, what they're doing now is looking so much like last season. People need to open their eyes and realize, like, this team is coming after you. So go check those 2 out right now over on the LOA Soundcheck on Spotify. All right, everybody, that is going to wrap it up for today. We will be back tomorrow, and it's a new month, so we'll be definitely taking a look at the March calendar as we come down to the wire here. So we'll take a look at that and whatever else is happening in Avalanche land. Maybe another trade. Who knows? So come back tomorrow and check that out. For today, thank you for making this your first listen of the day. That's always appreciated. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan, and I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys tomorrow.